Hi, everyone, and welcome to my live. And this is Real Talk with Coach Sherry's podcast. I appreciate you all for being here. And as you can see, this is National Make a Will Month. And having a will is so important. And if you didn't catch my other live, I did talk about the difference between an executor and a trustee. And I touched on a trustee a little bit. I really was talking about the executor. And there's so many different layers to doing estate planning and wills and just a lot of preparation, as you live and for your life after or for things that happen after your life here on earth. And just the feedback that I've received, and it's interesting because I get most of my feedback through text or email. And, a lot of the feedback I received was for more information on the different elements of the will. And, I knew when they asked for those different elements, it wasn't just the will per se, it's also estate planning. Someone did ask the question, what is estate planning? People were asking questions about the trust, about different things. And so, being that this is National Make a Will Month, I did want to include more of the elements and give them their own segment, their own segment, let's call it, so that you can digest it, take your notes, have your sections in your notebook, and have them labeled appropriately. So when you're ready to sit down and hopefully sooner than later and create your own estate planning or, do your own will or whatever you're going to do, that you'll be able to refer back to your notes from this live, from this podcast. However, I do highly recommend that you seek out professional assistance. And you might want to check if you are an employee to like a large company or a local government, check out your benefits package because sometimes they also offer assistance with creating your will and do estate planning, and that's not at any additional cost. Sometimes it's part of your benefits package, so take advantage of that. And sometimes they allow you, depending on how it's structured, you might be able to even do it for your parents if you are a caregiver for your parents, to make sure that their affairs are in place too. But it's so important, no matter what age you are, to have your affairs in place. And that was some of the responses that I received via text, was like, oh my goodness, I never even thought about it. And the things that you were saying were really hitting home. And I had a friend that unexpectedly passed away. Their affairs were not in place, and it was a scramble. And sometimes when you see people do like GoFundMe, it's not necessarily that the person that passed didn't have the funds to handle their services or anything like that. It's just that no one has access to their funds. No one knows where those documents are. No one knows where the insurance policies are, anything like that. So, in lieu of having the person be out without being put to rest, after a long period of time, people are scrambling around trying to get, gather money to put them, to bury them and to have the service. Whereas if you have your estate planned and you have people in place that know where all your documents are and such, you won't have to have that. That won't be the situation. I've known a couple of families, or heard of a couple of families that did that, and it was like, oh my goodness, we have no money to bury them, to have the funeral, and they're coming around, to family and friends asking for money, having a GoFundMe. And then, like a month later, after they're trying to close out that person's home, maybe they were renting an apartment or a condo or whatever, they find the documentation, in some weird space that would have covered plus, the services and things like that. So this is another reason. But I hope you have your pen and paper ready. And if you are new to this channel, I am Coach Sherry, and this channel is about workforce development, career readiness, entrepreneurship, real life, real issues, and real talk. And estate planning is definitely has a lot to do with all of those things. It has a lot to do with workforce development, career readiness, entrepreneurship, real life, real issues, and real talk. Believe it or not, sometimes people put everything in so many types of boxes, and they don't see how things are linked together. So it's important to have all of these things in place. Again, we're going to be talking about estate planning today. And what is estate planning? Well, it involves organizing how an individual's assets will be managed and distributed after their death or incapacitation. It includes tasks like writing a will, setting up trusts, naming the beneficiaries, and planning for estate taxes. Estate planning also covers personal matters such as guardianship for minors and healthcare directives. It is not only for the wealthy, everyone can benefit from having an estate plan to ensure their wishes are respected and to minimize legal complications and taxes for their heirs. You know, people sometimes they look at it like, well, I don't have anything, I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of assets, and so I really probably don't need this. I mean, the little things I have, they'll be able to figure it out. Listen, you definitely have more than you know. I'm just going to take a sip. You definitely have more than you know, and no matter how much or how little you have it in a place and have it organized so your family members will know what your last wishes are and be able to function even that much better as they're going through their grieving process. So there are main components, and I'm going to share them, of a comprehensive estate plan. And basically, a comprehensive estate plan includes several key components to ensure that your assets are managed and distributed according to your wishes. And these components are your will and trust. It could be either or both. And that specifies how your assets should be distributed after death. Trust can also avoid probate and provide privacy. Next, you have the durable power of attorney, and that designates someone to manage financial affairs if you become incapacitated. And so, this is another reason why, having your estate planning complete, as soon as possible, is because you don't know what twists and turns life will bring you. And so you may be in a situation, in a health type of situation, unexpectedly, where you're going to have people to care for you and handle your affairs. I see East Dad is in the building peeking in. I'm glad that you're here. I'm talking about a very important yet touchy subject that not everyone wants to touch on, but it's so important that we all, in some form or fashion, touch on it. Much respect to you too, Eastad. Thank you for tuning in. All right. So the power of attorney is really important. Next, you want to have a healthcare directive, and that includes a living will and a healthcare power of attorney to outline your medical treatment preferences if you cannot communicate them. You know, we take our voice for granted, and I just know, my mother had a beautiful voice, a beautiful singing voice. And when she got diagnosed with ALS and lived with ALS, one of the first things that went was her voice. And so you don't want to get to a point where you can no longer speak. And if you have neurological issues, you may not even be able to write or type or communicate effectively. I mean, there's devices now, but sometimes, sometimes if there is some type of challenge, if one person may have wanted that responsibility over another, they may say, well, they're not in their right mind. And If you have to be the person to dispute that, you may not be able to, even though mentally you can, but just verbally or physically you won't be able to. So get it out now while you are in your right frame of mind, while you are functioning and capable, so that there will never be any questions about that. The next is a beneficiary designations. So, ensuring that your assets like retirement accounts and life insurance policies are transferred to the intended recipients. And I mentioned this when I talked about the executor. You definitely want to have all of that written out, um, so that the person that should get it will get it. Again, I also mentioned my cousin that passed away unexpectedly, and she didn't have her estate planning complete. And, you know, we knew what she wanted, but because she didn't have her estate planning complete, it did not go to who she intended. And I also see that Conscious Business Services and Opportunities is in the buildings. Greetings to you. Yes, and listen, I got this idea from you about National Make a Will Month. I didn't know about it until seeing Conscious Business Services and Opportunities talk about it on one of her videos not too long ago, a few days ago, like maybe over the weekend. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, especially because I'm in the process of auditing my dad's will and trust, just to make sure that it's updated and everything. So it's very timely. And, the fact that I was able to do that, making sure everything is in place. I know what place everything is in, everything's in one spot, was very important. And I think doing that once a year is going to be very beneficial because life can change. So a couple of days ago, I did do a podcast on the importance of having an executor designated. And so, I had gotten so many questions, inboxed, text about estate planning and such. So I decided to break it all down into smaller pieces. So this topic tonight is going to be just about the importance of estate planning and what is estate planning. Some people don't know. Some people think estate planning is for them over there, or the people that live a certain lifestyle, but it really is for everyone. I see Black Guns and Gardens. Hello to you. Thank you for being here. All right. Well, have a great evening at work, East Dad. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. All right. And so now we're going to talk about the guardianship designations. For estate planning, you want to appoint guardians for minor children if you have any. And, I had mentioned that when our children were young, we had that. We had, one set that was going to be the guardians and another that was going to be over the financial piece. And I really could not wait until my son turned 18, because we knew, he would be responsible and could take care of his sisters. All my children are 20 months apart. So it's not like, he would have babies taken care of or anything like that. But now they're all young adults, 25, 24, and 22. So they are capable of definitely taking care of themselves and handling the estate. But when they were younger, we definitely, considered it. And depending on your assets, you may want to have that person that's responsible to raise the children, and then another person that will be responsible for handling the finances that you have set aside for them. And you may wonder, like, well, how do beneficiary designations affect your estate planning? And so beneficiary designations significantly impact an estate plan because they directly determine who will receive specific assets, such as your life insurance proceeds and retirement accounts, upon the account holder's death. So a lot of times things, when you are distributing it, is done by percentage. And if your family has grown, or if you are short a person, because maybe they have passed, preceded you in death, you will have to change those percentages. And it's so important to make sure, as you audit your will, your estate every year, to determine, okay, who's here, what situation are they in, did the family grow, what's going on, so you'll know how it should be distributed in that way. And also, these designations, they bypass the probate process, allowing for quicker and more efficient asset transfer. It leaves out that gray area. It leaves out that, well, they told me they were going to give me this amount, or, you want it to be very specific too. You don't want to have any wording that says, I'm going to leave this account, whatever's left in this account, to that person. What if before you passed away, you, I don't know, deposited $100,000 into that account, but you really only meant for them to get $20,000? So you want to put a dollar amount whenever possible. You want to put percentages, whenever possible. All right. You also, let's see, it's important that you take precedence over instructions in a will, meaning that if beneficiary designations are outdated or inconsistent with the will, they can lead to unintended distributions. And I had just spoke on that. Regularly reviewing and updating the beneficiary designations, especially after major life events, is crucial to ensure they align with the overall estate plan. So much life happens, and we sometimes tend to forget to update our things. We can go to lots of funerals, weddings, baby showers, but we don't always understand how they could impact our estate planning. So just like with a resume, you want to make sure it's still relevant, that it still speaks for your life and for the people in your life, so that there are no misunderstandings. And why should you do estate planning? You might be wondering. And there are several reasons why you should do estate planning. And the first one is you want to protect your beneficiaries. It ensures that your assets are distributed according to your wishes, preventing courts from making those decisions, which can be time consuming and costly. Don't just assume because everyone knows that you love this person that, oh, it's guaranteed that this person's going to get it all. That's not the guarantee at all. And if it is what you want to have it in your estate, so that, written down on your will or in your trust, so that it will go to that person, because you cannot leave anything for chance, for sure. The next is, caring for your dependents. It allows you to designate guardians for your minor children, ensuring that their care aligns with your preferences. And also minimizing your taxes. Proper planning can reduce the tax burden on your heirs, preserving more of your estate for them. Because taxes can really hit hard if you do not do proper estate planning. You could think, oh, I'm going to, help the needle move up, intergenerational mobility for my family. This is going to be a game changer. This is going to be major for them. And then you don't have it set up, you don't have it structured properly, and they end up paying more of it back in taxes, and it becomes more of a burden for them. And or they don't realize they have to pay taxes in some cases, and they spend more than, than they should have, and it could be a challenge there too. So you really need to sit down, talk to your family about what it is that you have in your estate, what's going to be designated to each person, and have financial literacy involved with that too, to let them know what the potential could be if they do certain things with what is left to them. If you have money that's already generating income, if it's, in a IRA or in some type of mutual fund or CD or something to that effect, and you are, you have it set up, and you may be living off of that, or doing whatever you're doing, you want to show them the different elements of it. Like, if you pull this out, it's going to actually cost you this much, but if you let it ride until it matures, then it won't be as impactful. Or if you pull it out, you want to purchase something like an asset, like maybe a piece of property or something like that, so that taxes won't be as detrimental on you. And also, having something an estate planning in place, it helps to prevent family disputes because it clearly outlines your wishes. Estate planning reduces the likelihood of family conflicts over asset distributions because black and white don't lie. If it's written and it's in plain, it's plain and clear, then there's enough said. It doesn't matter what mom or dad or auntie or whomever said to you. This is what is written, and it has been updated. It's not something that is outdated. It has been updated. And that's another great reason to update and make sure that, your estate planning is current, so that, if you have those conversations a year or two ago, that date of the audit of your will show, well, recently, as of this year, this is what they said. Yeah, it is major, and it's real talk, conscious business services and opportunities. And a lot of people don't like to have these conversations, and these are so, so important. And it's important to bring everyone to the table. If everyone's unable to come to the table, they all need to be made aware of it. At the end is not when the surprise should be. And I know it can be uncomfortable. I know it. I I used to be like, I don't even want to see it. I don't care. Don't matter. Just I'll deal with it at the end. But in real life, real talk, you have to deal with it sooner than later, and later will sometimes cause more challenges because everything may not be as set up as your loved one thinks it is. Everything you have may not be set up as well as you think it is. You could have the best lawyers, the best accountants, the best financial planners that are helping you. But if you are not doing an audit at least once a year, it may not be relevant anymore. Some people say, "Oh, I did my will when I first got married." Well, you got married 25 years ago. So much has changed. Are you kidding me? So, because you can't put in what you expect your future to be, you have to do it for what it is right now. Okay. So, how can estate planning reduce family conflicts after death? And that's a thing. Family conflicts sometimes they come about unexpectedly when death happens. A family can be as close as they want to be, as they could possibly be. And sometimes when death occurs and the estate is opened up, it the worst comes out of some people. And so you want to prevent that as well as much as possible, because your death is not the end of your family, of your legacy. Your legacy should go on in a positive way. And so having your paperwork, your documentation in place is one way to ensure that. So it can definitely reduce family conflicts through these things. So first is about open communication. Discussing your estate plan with your family members can clarify your intentions and reduce misunderstandings. We have been talking to our kids since they were probably between 5 and 8 years old, about estate planning and the importance of different things. Also, clear documentation. You want to ensure that estate planning documents are unambiguous and regularly updated to prevent disputes over perceived unfairness. Again, that's really important. Sometimes you might have to give a little bit of explanation of the why. Don't have them wonder, well, why did they do that? Why is this happening? You want to definitely have that communication and have it clearly documented as well. Let's see. Conscious business is saying a lot of folks don't do it because they think it's too complex and expensive. That's why I shared the way to get it as part of a package with the business I do. Okay. I am glad to see you are also sharing. Yes. So I'm going to have to look for your video, Conscious Business Services, and put it in my description, so that people can hear what you had said, your point of view and your expertise on this as well. All right. And I was also sharing with them that some companies, depending on how large it is, what type of industry it is, sometimes companies also in your benefits package, if you have any type of EAP program. Some of the EAPs have opportunities for you to get a will made up. And that's part of your benefits. So you want to check all your resources. And of course, you can do it yourself, but there are some things that you may overlook. Maybe you won't be as detailed in some areas. So I would say, even if you did craft your own will, to have, make it the foundation, and then take it to someone with a legal background, an attorney preferably, an estate's attorney preferably, to have them finalize it for you. If you feel like that might be out of your budget, at the very least get it notarized, so that at least, it's confirming that you did it on that particular date. But I definitely would recommend to have professional advice. The next is a neutral trustees. Appointing a neutral third party as trustee can help manage the estate impartially, reducing potential conflicts. Sometimes people think that they should be the trustee or the executor or whatever, and sometimes hiring that third party can be helpful. They'll keep the family focused. They'll, help with the timeline, moving things forward, because in some cases family members can be so emotional, and they take their responsibility in a way that is not always benefiting everyone. They may hold on to the assets longer than they need to or should, and they just are so emotionally attached to everything. It could be overwhelming to them. You really don't know all the time how someone's going to respond with that type of responsibility. However, a third party, that's what they do, that's their business. So they will definitely, distribute things in a timely manner for your family, and make sure things keep moving, because they don't make money by holding on to your assets too long. They're trying to, get it done. And also that helps with their reputation, because if your family members say, oh, I've worked with firm X, Y, and Z, and they really did a great job, then maybe, that helps their business. But if you're out there saying, oh, we're working with company XYZ, they've been taking forever and a day to get us our things or to distribute our stuff, it's been years, then who's going to want to hire them? So they have a brand to protect. So they definitely will try and do their best. Okay. And you know what? Conscious Business Services, and I know it's Charlene. The thing is, people cannot hear this enough, I don't think. There's always new people coming in. There's people who have been on the fence about it. And, hearing it from multiple people multiple times, I think is going to be good. Okay, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you. And also, equitable distributions, understanding and explaining the difference between equal and fair distribution can help manage expectations. And again, this is about reducing family conflicts. So, if it's your estate that you're doing, and you have, members of your family that you're going to leave pieces of your estate to, again, have that conversation. Gather them around, even if it's at a family gathering. It could be a cookout or whatever, and just say, listen, everyone, let's have some real talk. Can we talk a minute? This is what's going on with me and what I had determined I'm going to do. And that's the time to get it all out. And it's not about, people trying to scramble out of the pot, or kick people out the pot, the boiling water, or whatever the case, crabs in the bucket or whatever barrel. It's not about that. It's just about, we're all adults here, and I need to let you know what's what is, so that at the end you're not trying to figure things out. You already know what it's all about. All right. And the benefits of having involving a professional estate planning attorney, it's several benefits for that. And one is the expert guidance. Attorneys provide expertise in estate laws, ensuring that your plan is legally sound and tailored to your needs. There's a lot of people that, you know, they are that one shot pony. I don't know why. Maybe it's late, but I I can't think of the the sayings of things, one pony show or whatever it's called. And they're like, oh, I could do that, yeah, absolutely. But then if something, God forbid, happens to them, your documentation, you don't know where their files are or anything. So I would say, if you're going to reach out to an attorney, try and reach out to one that's more established, that has an office, that this is what they do. You don't want to you don't want an attorney that all they do is trial cases all the time. There are attorneys that this is what they do, and they know it like the back of their hand. Laws change, codes change, and you want them to be relevant and updated on all the things around estate planning. So I highly recommend that you look up, get a recommendation. If you are like, well, Coach Sherry, I don't know any attorneys, I don't know where I would go. Let me tell you, one of the best people that you can get a recommendation for is from a mortician. Funeral home directors, they know all of these people. They know insurance people, they know estate planners, they know attorneys, they know all of those people. So reach out to one that's local. And I mean, I'm not saying you have to be besties with a funeral director, but you kind of should be familiar with them. And they can give you that recommendation with ease in many cases. So definitely have a relationship with them. You should also have an attorney anyway in your back pocket. That should be part of your team. A financial planner would also be a good person to recommend an estate attorney to you. So look at your circle, and if you don't have some of these people I'm mentioning in your circle, you want to start developing your team. I'm not saying they have to be on your payroll or anything like that, but you should have a pretty stacked bench so that you can, have them as your resource. The next is efficient document preparation, because a professional, they will definitely help draft clear and comprehensive legal documents, reducing the risk of errors that could lead to disputes. And again, that's why I said, even if you do draft your own documents up, and sometimes you might do that to save on time, because if an attorney has to do it from scratch, that's more time. If they're charging you by the hour and not by the project, that's more money. But if you can give them, like, listen, I have this foundation, all I need you to do is review it and revise it, that would cut down costs. It would. But definitely have them use their expertise so that it can have less errors. Tax optimization. Attorneys can devise strategies to minimize estate and inheritance taxes, preserving more assets for your beneficiaries. And again, people don't recognize or realize that you're going to have to pay taxes on things, but you can protect it in certain ways where you may not have to pay any, or definitely at a minimal amount of payment out. So speaking to those professionals that this is what they do. Yeah, all attorneys go to law school, but at some point they specialize. Some are general, and they can touch on every type of law, but I know for me, I like to have the specialized ones. It's like, if you're going to have surgery, you don't just go to a general practitioner. You go to a surgeon that specializes in the area of your body that is getting ready to be, you know, operated on. You don't go to a head, eye, and nose doctor to get your knee done. Yeah, they probably could do it, but is that what you want? So you want to go to the ones that specialize in that. Also, probate avoidance. They assist in setting up trusts and other mechanisms to bypass or streamline the probate process, saving time and money. You don't want your beneficiaries to have to pay out more just to get what you are going to be leaving them. A lot of times people don't have it to give, and that will take away from what they are going to inherit. Some people want to see, like, well, what's in it for me? If they need someone to help them to figure things out at the end. Oh, I don't know, I gotta look at this, I have to file for that. And they, again, if they don't have the money, it's going to come out at the end what they would have received from you. And the money that you leave for your family is not it's no replacement for your life at all, but it's a way to increase generational wealth. Again, intergenerational mobility. That's where the generation after generation is getting better, is evolving. But if they have to spend everything just to get it in the first place, then it's not going to do that. And that's why I believe financial planners need to be involved too, so that they will make better choices with their money. Listen, I've seen people, and it's actually here lately, it's the craziest thing. They have inherited money, and money is relative. Some people, if they haven't had it, if they get a little bit, that's a ton, and they think, oh, I made it, I'm rich. And it is like $50,000 or something like that. And listen, that can go so fast. So you want to be good stewards over your money, not spend it just because you have it on frivolous things, or overspend, or do repeat spending where, man, you bought that 3 times, or you did that 5 times over, and you really should have just did it that one time. But because you had it, you just, oh, I'll do it again. It don't matter. No, it does matter, because that money is not for you to just throw away, to throw it out the window. It's for you to build on and to do good things to elevate where you are for your future as well. Also, regular updates. So, attorneys help keep your estate plan current with changes in laws and personal circumstances. That's another reason why it's important to have your will revised, audited, whatever you want to call it, every year, once a year. And this, because you don't know what may have changed. Maybe the amount of how, of what you can leave before it's really impacted by taxes may change. I know even with the education policies, I believe the IRS, if you receive like over 5,100 or something, like for reimbursement, you have to pay taxes on anything over that. I think it's 5,100 to wait, 5,150 or something like that. And it always changes. It changes. And so you want to be up on that and adjust your estate accordingly. What specific legal documents should you have in your estate plan? Which is another question that someone asks, like, well, I don't even know. Uh-huh. And there's many more. That's why I seek legal counsel. But it should include the following legal documents. The last will and testament should be included in your estate planning, and that specifies how your assets will be distributed and can appoint guardians for minor children. A trust that can be part of your estate planning, and a trust manages your assets during your lifetime and after death, often used to avoid probate. And I'm going to talk more about trusts in another podcast, because trust is a whole nother thing. There's two types. There's irrevocable and revocable. And what should you put in your trust? Who should have a trust? Why? I'm going to definitely touch on all of those. Financial power of attorney, and they authorize someone to handle your financial affairs if you become incapacitated. And that could be any given Sunday. That's why having your estate planned out is so important, because any given Sunday, your life can change. Life is very fleeting, and we cannot take it for granted, and we have to be prepared for everything. Also, the healthcare power of attorney, which appoints someone to make medical decisions on your behalf if you are unable. Living will, advanced healthcare directive, and that outlines your wishes for medical treatment at the end of life. If you don't want to be resuscitated, you need to have that in writing. And in many cases, they even recommend you put it somewhere like on your refrigerator, because if emergency workers have to bust into your house for any reason, that's really the first place they look, is your refrigerator, for that information. Many people keep all their important information on their refrigerator. If you have an elderly parent, having points of contact numbers and such on their refrigerator. If they don't want to be resuscitated, have that DNR on the refrigerator. Also, having it in writing in your estate planning But for, moment to moment, you need to have it, because if you don't have that in writing, if they don't see it, they're going to resuscitate you, and next thing you know, you're going to wake up and have tubes down your throat for a ventilator. And I know that because that's what happened with my mother. And it turned out, it was incredible, because she was having problems with breathing prior to that. And she went into heart failure, and she didn't have it written. She said it verbally that she didn't want to be resuscitated before, like before her issue escalated, and she never wrote it down. And so because she didn't write it down, they resuscitated her. And even though she had the tubes and the ventilator and everything, it really oxygenated her body so much better. She was starting to feel better even though she was still on the ventilator. It was incredible. And so, she went on to live another 2 years with it. But some people was like, "Oh, she didn't want it. Why did y'all do it?" She didn't have we did not have a say in that. So, you have to make sure that everything you want, all your wishes, desires are written, because if it's just verbalized by you and at the end, no one has to grant that. It's a he said, she said at that point. So this podcast, I hope you were able to glean some nuggets from it, take some notes, think about how you're going to have those conversations with your loved ones. Who are you considering to be part of your estate planning? Because, that's important too. And consider everyone, consider organizations, associations that have really helped you along the way. If you went to school, even if it was your high school, your college, any organizations you belong to, do you want to leave your estate to them or a part of your estate? There's plenty of people that leave parts of their estates to their elementary schools, to, places in their community where they grew up, their churches, just a lot of things to consider. So I'm just here just to share this information. It's been my pleasure, my honor actually, because this is only hopefully going to help someone. And, this is very important, but I will be back with more information, especially as people reach out to me with more questions. I know some of the things that, let me see if I can find the page. Some of the things that I am going to be touching on this month, which is National Make a Will Month, will be disputes over estates, estate advantages of trusts over wills, difference between a living will and health care power of attorney, also the different types of trusts that's out there, just so that you can have a better understanding. Knowledge is power. And when you go to an attorney or a financial planner or estate planner, whatever the case may be, the more that you know as you go to them, the better the conversation. Of course you're going to learn a lot from them. They're going to tell you way more than I did in these videos, but at least you'll have a baseline knowledge, and you can also come there with questions, and they will appreciate that a lot more than if you just come there green, because they'll also realize they can't just sell you the okey doke, that you have a good idea of what it's all about. But thank you again for being here. It's been my honor. And I hope to see you all again soon. Definitely tomorrow. I have some great pre records that I'm putting together that I think you'll enjoy too. Everyone, remember, practice every day. Practice so hard that when you get into that game, you will always, and I mean that, always play to win. Take care and thanks for tuning in. I am Coach Sherry.